call the council meeting to order and rise for pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Susie, roll call.
Councilmember Groves. Here. Councilmember Chambers.
Here.
Councilmember Salzweedl.
Here.
Councilmember Barkus.
Here.
And Mayor DeWard.
Here. Motion for the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
No support. Any discussion or changes? Sue?
Councilmember Groves. Yes. Councilmember Chambers.
Yes.
Councilmember Salzweedl.
Yes.
Councilmember Barkus.
Yes.
And Mayor DeWard.
Yes. Citizen discussion for items not on the agenda.
Oh, got it. Come to the.
Yep, to the podium, just name and address.
Sure.
Then you go. Chief, can you remove that, please?
Patrick Mooney, 726 Lafayette. This morning I was down at the boat launch looking for something that might have fell off my boat. And I noticed there's like several hundred yards or feet of carpet hanging over the barrier, the guardrail. It's been there since Saturday. And then there was also this white dog chained to a light pole. And so I went up and started talking to him, and then there was a tarp there and it started moving and someone was crashed out underneath it. And the guy's stuff is still there. I just went there to eat my dinner before I came to the meeting. And the carpet is all still there too. It's just draped over the guardrail at the river. So, thank you.
There's
carpet down there at the river on the railing, quite long. I seen it there, right here at the boat launch. I seen it there for the triathlon. I figured maybe it was something they did. And I don't know that for sure. And apparently we have somebody sleeping under a tarp over there with a white dog.
Yeah, it's like the size of a Newfoundland. Big one.
The carpet was for the kayaks.
Okay.
Yeah, typically, for that race. I'm sure
I
that's what
thought
the
they
carpet was.
were packing up and said good.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what the
Brent's
carpet.
here, I'm sure he can answer.
Perry Beach and 924 Riverside Drive. Yes, it's not that much carpet. I mean, because I donated it, and I'm sure that they're going to take care of it, because we try to cover up the boat ramp so people don't slip and everything. And we do it for the river walk, so I'm sure he will address that. So that's a couple different things. You're going to hear from me a lot about Lowell Light Power. I attended the National Convention, the American Public Power Association in San Diego. And you learn things and things that you need to do. And again, one of them was to blow your own horn type deal and talk about it. Charlie West, the general manager of Lowell Light Power, was asked to speak at the national convention, and he did a great job. He represented Lowell really well. I just want to quickly just talk a few things about Lowell Light Power, things that we had. The A+ program, which is a program where ratepayers donate and helps the people that are going through hard times, need help with their bills, and what donated, Lowell Light Power matches that. We do a road cleanup. We adopt the road coming in, Alden Ash coming into town, Christmas tree disposal, limbs, small brush cleanup. We do that with the DPW. Lowell Light Power hangs the banners on Main Street, do the Christmas tree lights on Main Street. Christmas light contest, we've been a part of that. All our employees have a day of volunteer, we allow them to do a day of volunteer. We have the linemen, and I think Bruce talked about it. We did a muster poll the other day. We participate in parades, and we participate in the Lowell area cleanup at Rec Park. That's just to name a few, all while keeping your rates lower than surrounding companies and more reliable. So again, you're going to hear us talk about light and power and where our power comes from and different things. I will say on a sour note, and I'm saying this to the council because we don't have coffee with council. In the last work session, it was very alarming to find out at that, and I get it, the city doesn't have a lot of money, but we've been told all along, residents on Riverside and the residents in the last block, the 900 block, that when they resurfaced that, they were going to put water along that last block because our water actually comes from Hudson. And to find that out in that meeting earlier tonight is wrong. It should have been, the citizens should have been notified if the money's not there. I get that, but not to be told, to find out at a public meeting that's something that you've been told all along is going to happen, and then find out it's not going to happen at that meeting. As you can tell, I'm upset about it. Thank you.
Can I respond to that? No. Bruce?
Bruce Matthews, 326 Riverside. I've got a proposal to establish a no-wake zone in the Flat River from the dam up to where the Virgins Township no-wake zone is, just north of town from the river. And I'd like to read the proposal, but also have copies to pass around, if you wouldn't mind moving that around. Appreciate it. Basically, the Flat River is a shallow waterway used extensively by paddle sport boats, tubers, and slow-moving pontoon boats. Deep water sections usable for power boats, and jet skis at planing speeds are quite narrow and limited, generally restricted to the western channel. Problems that occur with these boats traveling at wake-producing speeds include damage to boats moored alongside the western riverbank, erosion of steep riverbanks due to unnatural wake-generated waves. And I think the most important thing is safety concerns related to dangerous wakes that affect kayaks and canoes, stand-up paddleboards, the fact that we've got submerged stumps and log hazards out there that are difficult to see at speed, and with the river fluctuation that occurs both naturally and with the dam control, sometimes you see them, sometimes you don't. And if you're not familiar with them, it could be a major problem if you run into them at a wake producing speed. Narrow passageways, bends and islands, particularly north of here, that create limited vision, unsafe navigation conditions except at slow speeds, most notably in the upriver portion. I'm not going to take everybody's time. I know we've got a huge issue that's river focused as well, but I'd like to see the city council take this on as a possibility and pass an ordinance. The Township of Virgins has already done so. It did so back in 2007. I have a copy of that, the issuance from MDNR at the time, and then also from the no-wake ordinance from the Township of Virgins that I'll leave with you as well. I know that enforcement is an issue. I know I had a discussion with Rich about it a little bit, and enforcement could be a big issue, but I believe that in the circumstances that we have right here, that effective education through signage and through flyers, and particularly in shops that cater to river users, would at least alert folks who may have boats and want to use boats at speed out there at wake-producing speeds. That would reduce it very significantly. Those of us that live on Riverside Drive, it's pretty easy to You know, when your boat's getting hammered against the shoreline because somebody just, you know, drove by in a jet boat, you know, we can get a number off that pretty quickly, get a photograph, and you know, I'm pretty sure that enforcement would not create an overarching burden on the city. And Virgins Township has had this ordinance in place for almost 20 years and have not had an issue with enforcement. So, thanks for your time. I'll, Chief, if I can stand you to pass that around. That's the ordinances from Virginia. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Diane Smith, 618 Lafayette Street. I'm here as a friend to the community of Lowell, a friend to the people of Lowell, and a friend of the Flat River that runs through Lowell. I sent this message to the Lowell Ledger in Lowell's first look, the first week in this June 2024. This is not about me. This is about our beloved river. Lowell is a gem on the Flat River in Michigan and has a rich historic legacy. It is a destination for dining at its distinctive and culturally varied restaurants. It is a destination for using the water of the Flat River north of the dam for showboat stage concerts, the annual Riverwalk Festival, boating, kayaking, fishing, or just strolling along the Riverwalk and enjoying the view and wildlife. Nonetheless, these activities are being made more difficult and unpleasant. 2 years ago, 2022, the river and the east channel of the river began to gradually change. The summer of 2022, the north bend of the river by the scout camp became carpeted by a thick river moss. This resolved itself by late summer. However, it is now coming back this summer of 2024. Then last summer, 2023, the east channel north of the showboat and the boat launch became clogged by weeds, water lilies, algae, and scum to the extent that it became almost impassable. The area by the kayak and boat launch and showboat were obstructed by this vegetation, causing it to be nearly unusable, destructive to watercraft, and becoming unsightly. The weed infestation was even encroaching on the arrowhead plants in the middle of the river. These lovely plants are a haven for hundreds of red-winged blackbirds. Nothing was done to address or solve this problem. We are now entering the summer of 2024, and the vegetation was exploding already mid-May, and it is far worse now, mid-June. The Riverwalk Festival mid-July will be negatively impacted by this invasion. This is an ugly and ever-growing blemish on our attractive and vibrant downtown and viewed by all that use our shoreline. Solutions can be found to control this invasion, and this community deserves to put one's best foot forward. I trust you will let us know how you proceed. Diane Smith, resident since 2002. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, everyone. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn. I am actually a Cascade Township resident. My name is John Kokersma. I've been working at Flat River Grill for about 20 years. I consider Lowell my working home. I love it here. And working at Flat River Grill, we have our beautiful river walk. And last summer, there was a very disturbing incident. An elderly couple came in, and they wanted to walk down and sit on the beach. I was like, we don't have a beach. They were mistaking an algae pad for a beach. It was that bad. And then they found out what it was, and they got grossed out, and I ended up putting them in the dining room. And it has, Busch Light cans and some Starbucks cups, and they realized, we're not going down there. But I appreciate your listening to me. I've been there a long time. And there seems to be a lack of turtles, herons, egrets, and general wildlife, swans, and even ducks. And let's face it, maybe we could get rid of some of the ducks. They're a little mess, especially in front of the library. And this weekend there was the triathlon, another great Lowell event, and had athletes come in before and after, like John. The river isn't what it used to be. It's unbalanced. It's upside down. It's not clean. And I have my minor in zoology. Algae's great. It supports tadpoles, all kinds of things, but especially mosquitoes. We don't need it. But back to the couple that I brought in to sit on that river walk. And they're like, ew, ew. We don't want that to be our first impression when people walk onto the river walk. They see this pool of scum, then our lovely showboat. That's not what we want. Thank you. I'm so proud to work here. And hi, Sue.
Hi everyone, my name is Rich Perry. I live at 14791 Grindle. I own essentially the property north of the Boy Scout camp, almost to the STS hydro plant, power plant. And for my profession, what I do that keeps me busy during the day is I work for a company called Solitude Lake Management. And so I cover the Northeast United States from basically Minnesota to Maine. And we control algae and weeds and other, we have fisheries, we do dredging, we do hydrobraking, we do everything. And I've already been in touch with some of the members of the community, and I would like to propose the City of Lowell to form a special association district for members that live on in the Flat River down here in this area. And it's $5,000 to do an actual lake survey or river survey, because it's kind of like, if you think about a river, you think river flowing, right? But the back water of the dam almost forms a lake. And I've asked the company that I work for and support if they would do this survey for free. And so we're gonna send a limnologist out here, which is a fancy word for saying basically an aquatic weed specialist, to conduct a survey and find out why are the weeds as bad as they are, and why has it gotten worse. And remember, if we go kill the weeds today, right, you don't want to kill everything. You don't want to kill the fish, you don't want to kill all the weeds, you don't want to just go spray everything, right? And if you kill weeds, then other weeds will grow back. So you need a professional plan that is put in place to make sure that we're controlling it. Because what will happen if, let's say we come in here and we spray a herbicide or a pesticide today, well then next year it'll get 10 times worse, right, if we just kill it. So we need a professional plan to come in and to control it, because I don't know, and I wish I could tell you the reason why it's gotten worse over the last couple of years, but it really has. You know, I used to be able to drive my little bass tracker boat with a trolling motor through here without getting caught in the weeds, and unfortunately I cannot do it anymore. So, like, let's leave it up to the professionals. Like I said, I've lived here for years, I love it here, and I've asked the organization I work for to come and help out. Municipalities don't pay for this. So, like, to come and ask the city of Lowell to, you know, hey, it's gonna cost $500 to $1,000 an acre to treat the weeds. The city of Lowell doesn't pay for that. Like, that's not how it works, right? We have to apply for grants. We have to, you know, go through the motions and help, you know, each other out. But no one's gonna cough up a big check to kill a bunch of weeds. So that's what, my goal here today is to form this SAD and start the process of that through the city of Lowell. And then once we form that, we will then conduct an evaluation, a survey as step 2. And then I'll come back, hopefully we can get this done by the next month's meeting, right? And we'll present a potential solution for this. So,
When you say SAD, you mean Special Assessment District?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
That's
Can
all.
I please
Thank
get
you.
your last name? Your last last name, please?
Perry, P-E-R-R-Y.
Okay, thank you.
Grant Hedgesbach, 722 North Hudson. I had the privilege of putting on the second annual River Trail Triathlon downtown Lowell this past weekend. Sorry about the carpet, I'll get that figured out for you. Last year, I think it was taken care of by Sunday. I didn't do it, so I figured someone else came and swooped in. Whether it was a ghost or something else, I'll get with them and we'll figure it out. But, so thank you for your patience on that, and thank you for bringing that to my attention. I just wanted to say a big thank you to all of you guys and to everyone in the community that was a part of the River Trail Triathlon. It was a huge hit this year. Got great feedback already. I sent out feedback requests this morning, and about a quarter of the participants already responded to it. In the overall, I had them rate several factors within the race. One of them being just like overall experience with Lowell and the nature aspect, the beauty of it, and the average response was a 9 out of 10. Like, we don't realize how good we have it here and all the resources that we have and all the great support that we have through fire, through police, through public works. Couldn't have done it without you guys. And all of the participants were super grateful and felt super safe the entire time. So thank you all for either spectating, for helping out with it, or if you're just hearing it for the first time, that's great too. But there's a real push for making it bigger and better for the next year, so we'll definitely keep in touch.
How many participants do you have?
We had over 60. We had about 65 participants this year. And there's, like I said, a great push for a lot more participation next year.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Good evening, I'm Heidi Stoller. Live out in Lowell Charter Township, but I represent the Alto Active Achievers 4-H Club, and we've been meeting at the King Building here in Lowell for the last 10 years. We have about 143 members right now. We meet twice a month, September through April at the King Building, and then those are the big meetings, and then we also have the sewing club in about weekly, and that starts October through March or April, whenever projects get finished. So I would just like to ask the council to just remember the youth of Lowell. When talking about the King Building and the Reith Building, those buildings have been quite a benefit to the community. And really there's not a lot of other places for those meetings. So there's several dog clubs that meet down there. Alto Active Achievers meets down there. Cherry Valley meets down there. And so just asking that you would remember those. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Tosh. I'm running for 63rd District Court here in Kent County. I live in East Grand Rapids, if that matters. Reason I'm here, just want to introduce myself to the council. And then all these people showed up, which is fantastic when you're running for office. Thanks for being here. Just a little bit of my background. I'm born and raised in Kent County. Southeast Grand Rapids is where I grew up, went to Grand Rapids Christian. From there, I always wanted to be a police officer. That was my dream, so I did. I became a police officer. When I was 18, I was a cadet for the city of Grand Rapids. Went on, started with the city of Wyoming as a police officer. Was a school liaison officer for the Wyoming School District, which was a very rewarding job. Unfortunately, I had budget problems back in 2004. Ended up having to go to the city of Walker to keep a job. From there, my career just really blossomed. I love the city of Walker for that. I ended up working as a narcotics detective. From there, I was promoted, became a sergeant in charge of road patrol, also on their special response team. With that, I was also put on the honor guard, so I got to participate here in Lowell quite a bit. And it was just a great opportunity. Unfortunately, I hurt my back. At that time, I was going for my master's degree and had to switch because I hurt my back so bad I couldn't really be a police officer much longer. So I ended up going to law school, went to law school during the day, worked night shift as a police officer at night, and ended up becoming a lawyer. And the reason I tell you all of that is because there's going to be a choice to be made when we come to the 63rd district this year. And the choice is really going to be between, are we going to, and there's nothing wrong with this, this is normally how it goes, deal with the candidates who went to law school, worked in a sterile law environment, and then became judges, or are we going to start looking to people that have a little bit more of real world experience? And that's kind of what I'm offering to bring to the table. While I work for a Fortune 500 company as an attorney now, I've practiced law all over the state of Michigan. I've defended police officers in some high-profile cases, defended firefighters, even though police officers can't stand firefighters. It worked out. We became friends. But now I want to bring that experience and become a judge here for the district court in Kent County. Reason being is because my 16 years in law enforcement taught me the service is where I'm oriented, service is where I want to work. Being on the bench in Kent County is something that I think would encompass all the places that I've worked, and I think I can continue my service there. This meeting tonight is amazing. I do these a lot. I go to a lot of different commission meetings. This turnout's awesome. You guys should be very proud of yourselves, very proud of your town, proud of your commission, everybody being so engaged. A town can't fail if there's this many people that care, and that is evident here. So I'm going to hang around and see why you're all here. Pay attention to what's going on, because I want to know now. And then afterwards, I'll be hanging around if you guys want to, shake my hand, say hi. I can tell you a little bit more about myself, but other than that, thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else?
Ann Dimick, I live at 624 Lafayette Street. I am a new voter, relatively new compared to this wonderful woman back here. And she dares to venture out on the river at this point. I don't. Last year I had to stop driving our boat the second week of July. This year I have quit. I made my last trip and the motor was rubbing and burning very badly, and I just don't have the finesse to tackle that anymore. So right now I'm talking with people about selling my boat, which is something that my husband and I have really enjoyed for the time that we've been able to do that. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, close public comment. Sue, is Judge O'Hare here?
I don't believe so.
Okay. We're going to hold off on old business number A. He is on his way. We'll go to number B, the budget amendments. Mike?
Yeah, this is our annual budget amendments. Kind of walk through them real quick. We do this at the end of the year, as we do every year. Kind of walk through real quickly. So we just go through and have to amend certain line items because there may have been overages. One of the things is we took in quite a bit more revenue than originally budgeted. We saw about over a $220,000 increase with the marijuana excise tax. We saw about an $84,000 increase in our personal property tax reimbursement from the state. We saw about $5,000 more in grave openings. We also had a sale of fixed assets. So we did take in about a total about $330,000 more in revenue as planned. We did have some expenditures that did go over, that we needed to amend the line items. The first one was obviously council salaries. We did have an increase in council salaries. We also had an increase with conferences and so forth. Also, the Ware Road, the manager professional services, that's mainly Mare Road, but there's also some other professional services in there. We had originally budgeted $133,000 or $134,000 approximately, and we're going to need to amend that to about $150,000. Mainly, that's with the excess issues on Ware Road. The thing is that we have set aside about $100,000 in our fund balance to address Ware Road. So any overages Fort Railroad could be addressed out of that. The other one that was, I had briefed the council back in February and March about miscalculation of the MERS payment. So we made those corrections, and those are reflected throughout the budget. There's a number of line items in here that were amended to reflect that. The other major amendment was the police department. We had significantly more overtime than we had budgeted. This year we've had a lot more than we've had in years past for a number of reasons. The fire department, we had a $20,000 increase. We had the additional fire payment we had to make due to the issues that we addressed previously. You're going to see in the recreation contribution, we normally have $5,000. If you recall, we took our ARPA, we had the end of our ARPA funds, which was designated for the trail. But we needed to close out the ARPA account, so we transferred it to the general fund, and we've made that payment to LARA. So the $99,000 is that payment to LARA, or $94,000 of it is that payment to LARA for our contribution for the trail from the ARPA funds that we had set. So that's the big expense. And then we did a significantly larger transfer to local streets. We had budgeted $400,000, which is $150,000 of a general fund transfer and an estimated $250,000 from marijuana excise tax. We have always artificially lowered that. We've always been very conservative with that excise tax amount to transfer to local streets. This year, the whole $472,000 we received from the marijuana excise tax is going to the local streets for street improvements, and so that's the big one. Going into the major street expenditures, there's about a $30,000 increase in the major capital outlay. That was due to some storm drains and engineering for G Drive. We did have some increase in our contractual costs in the major streets. And then looking down, going into the DDA, we saw about $100,000 increase in projected revenue for the DDA. Expenditure-wise, there were no expenditure amendments we had to make. We also saw increase in fees to our building fund. But we did have more than budgeted for our building fund for expenditures for PCI. So there's an amendment there. And then we just go into our designated contributions, which is really a lot of the different grants that we file, and a lot of the different, when people make donations to the city, we keep those in our designated contributions funds. And then other than that, that's really it, if anyone has any questions about our budget amendments. But one thing I do want to notice, this is the first year in my 8 years here that we have not had to amend the attorney line. We've always had to increase it every year because of issues that have come up, and I don't think we'll have to this year.
Any questions for Mike?
I have a few, but I don't need to go first. So if I'm new to budget amendments, if I total the revenues and the appropriations, and we just talked about this, Mike, and I think you answered this, but for the public's knowledge, it looks to me like we've spent $200,000 over budgeted. At least $99,000 was part of the LARA, which we approved. But I do know we do need to balance the budget. So does that $200,000 come out of the general funds, the reserve funds?
Yeah. So you have a fund balance. You have a fund balance of probably about $1.5 million just sitting in unassigned reserve.
Okay.
Of that $200,000, and remember, that doesn't take into account. There's still a lot of line items in the budget that haven't been expended. I mean, you're going to have, from what I see, you're probably going, of that $200,000, you did go into the fund balance because we had funds reserved for the trail. And then we also had funds reserved for Ware Road that are gonna come out of the fund, that we can basically designate out of the fund balance. That being said, you're gonna have a lot of line items that aren't gonna meet their budgeted numbers. So, and then also we haven't taken into account yet the administrative fees, sales tax that come in yet. We won't be able to take that into account until the end of the year. But looking at the budget for the end of the year, you might dip into the fund balance just a little bit. I don't think it's going to be significant, but in order to have if you didn't have a balanced budget, it would basically mean your fund balance is completely depleted and you were in deficit, which we are nowhere near.
Great, so you won't know until the end of this month. You're going to find some savings at some places?
Yeah, I won't know the full picture until the audits in September, but from what I see, there's nothing. We might dip into the fund, but if you take those Ware Road and if you take Ware Road and you take trail contribution out, you might have a small dip into the fund balance, but I don't think it's going to be anything major. There's nothing I see that really alarms me.
Okay, that's good. The DDA, I was on that committee up until January. I don't understand the 200,000 overage, I'll call it.
We had more TIF than what was budgeted.
The appropriations are 200,000 more than the revenue. I don't, in my year and a half, I don't remember, I can't tell you where that came from.
So I have 103,000 more in revenue than what we had budgeted.
Well, we can talk about that one offline, but I just, it looks like, I don't understand the overage on the.
I have to look at it.
Okay. And then the cemetery, I hate to beat a dead horse, but I'd asked a couple times, airport, I hope I didn't just say cemetery.
You did.
I'm sorry. It started early, but the airport, I know the airport basically breaks even, but your chart here has a $27,000 deficit, and that doesn't include the repaving, so I don't, I'm not trying to pick on the airport, I love the airport, but I don't understand that overage.
Casey can explain it, he's here tonight.
That's not accurate. I'm in speaker.
Yeah, come on. Okay.
So could you present that number to me again?
Revenues of 77,300, appropriations of 104,000, which is a difference of 27,000, and that doesn't include your planned paving next year.
Okay, so the appropriations of 104,000, I'm not sure where that number's coming from, what that's based on.
I'd have to look.
Okay, that seems erroneous to me, that dollar amount.
That's why I asked, because a month ago, if you took out depreciation, you broke even, which is
Yeah,
great.
we actually run we run very much in the black every year, so we do not run under any deficit.
I'll have to recheck my notes, but when you factored in depreciation, it looked like it was a $20,000 deficit this year.
Yeah, I'd like to review that with you maybe outside of this, but I think there's some corrections we can make there.
Okay, so you don't agree with appropriations of $104,000 total?
I do not. So I'd like to spend some time and work on where that number comes from, 'cause I'm not sure what it's based from.
Sure.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Thank you.
Thanks, Casey.
And then my last question, I'm going to pick on the council for a minute, and just for my own learnings, we had budgeted $4,000 and spent $11,700 on conferences. How do we, as a council, watch that number so that we don't have overages each year? Do we approve conferences each year?
Well, we've had a good amount of time where there was not a lot of buy-in or people attending the conferences.
My first couple of years, I was unable to attend conferences. For the past 3, I've been able to attend.
I would argue that that is a pretty good category to be over in.
I agree. I'm not.
I think he's just saying, how do we be more accurate with our budgeted?
And we're
Exactly.
still, yeah, and we budgeted low because we had the 2 COVID years, well, a year and a half, where we couldn't go to any conferences, right? So I think maybe we just never increased it back from that.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever,
I think one of the things we ended up more deciding that we want to attend more,
Yeah.
is we need to get educated, we need to be informed what's happening and how we work with other communities, so I think it was more important that we attended a few more than we had in years past, and it's been a great education for me, I can speak for myself, that it's been great for me to attend some of these meetings and find out what's really happening, so.
It's helpful too because Leah's schedule's opened up, mine has, yours definitely has.
Yeah.
Yours is
I
way
feel like-
open.
Whereas when Cliff was here,
Yeah.
I mean.
And Cliff
it
couldn't
was-
do it
It
because
was
of-
generally maybe 2, maybe 3 of us
Yeah.
attending, where the past couple, it's been 6 of us, so.
Same with Greg, there was a lot of times he just couldn't go.
Yeah.
Because they were too busy down here.
So I don't think you're wrong for noting that we could.
Over budget.
Well,
Yeah.
and also, I think Rich wants to attend these too versus where Dan didn't attend them too much, so.
he has his own lineup.
Oh, that's, okay.
And again, I'm totally supportive of this. In general, I'm just saying, how do we watch this so that at the end of the year, we don't have a big overage like the council isn't $30,000 over? You know, I'm not saying that's the case, but is that something we can track on Mike's and Sue's monthly reports?
Ideally, you could guesstimate it when, I guess when the MML calendar comes out, it'd be easy to just, instead of assuming only 2 people are going, maybe assume that we're all going.
Budget all 5.
Right? And then even if somebody doesn't go, that leads to being in the black, not in the red. You know what I mean? Whereas before, budget 3 and then maybe 1 or 2 go or nobody goes, because the scheduling hasn't always been.
A couple years they had it in Grand Rapids where we didn't have to go spend
Yeah.
the night, so there's less money. It depends on where they're hosting it as well, what the cost can vary. I don't think it'll be that much, but it does vary
Well,
because of where it's at.
Grand Rapids to where we're driving home and not using a hotel in
Correct.
Mackinac where we're using, where captive, well, they're gonna pay. Could be,
I
but
think
that's
that,
easy to do with, as preliminary as the MML calendar
yeah.
usually is, that's easy enough to change.
And I'm glad we're all going,
Yeah.
but I think it's like anything in business, right? You have to run it for a certain time, for a year, to understand what the real true number is. I don't think you can put a number on it. I mean, if you had to put a number on it, then put $30,000, right? Then you know you're well covered, but I think you need to run it for at least 12 months. We've had council members just not go for whatever reason. Now we all seem to be going. So it's rooms, time, expenses that coming back, if you're driving, meals, right? So it all adds up. It's not cheap. And the cost of everything, I don't know when you have to get a hotel room, even though they give us a break, MML does, it's still very costly and very expensive.
Also, there's certain things that the city will pay for. We have to buy our own alcohol, so don't think that we're out there drinking on your dime or nothing. That's our dime. You know, we do have to pay for our own, so it's FYI.
Unless we bump into the right council while we're out and about.
Before I end, I'm sorry, I just have to ask, just in general, and again, this is my first time voting on this, but how do we know in advance that the DDA is $200,000 over and some of these overages? How do we know in advance before tonight so I can think about it?
I bring you a report every month.
Is that monthly report? Which
Yeah, I look at everything. And even if it's 200 over, there's probably projects that carried over from last year. I have to look at it. There were projects that carried over last year that we just carried over and re-amended. That's probably what you're seeing, but I gotta look at it. But
Well, we know 30,000 of it is for the bumblers, for the
Right.
fountains, to try to help.
there were
the
projects,
river.
there's always that's a pay-as-you-go budget. So that budget always carries over from the year over. So if it's 200 over, it's probably because there was 200 budgeted from the year prior that we didn't spend on a project that carried over to
Still
this
on the
year.
books.
Yeah, it's still on the books. So say we're not 200, I can tell you we're not even close to being in deficit with the DDA fund. We're sitting on like $600,000 cash.
That's great, I'm a black and white guy, and
Yeah.
that's what this paper's telling me. This is
Right.
what I'm supposed to vote on,
Right.
so.
But yeah, I mean, the budget's very gray. I understand that their paper is very black and white, but the way I manage it, is I have to manage many different variables, so.
And you do it well, no critique there.
Yes, we've gotten a pretty clean audit every single time.
Yes, absolutely.
Mike's been here. All right, any other questions on the amendments? Motion 1324 to approve the amendment.
I will make that motion.
I'll support.
Any other discussion? Sue?
Mayor Gore,
Yes.
Councilmember Salzweedl,
Yes.
Councilmember Farkas,
No,
Councilmember Chambers,
Yes.
Councilmember Groves.
Yes.
Lead service line inspection and replacement. Rich? Oh, all right. Judge O'Hara. Thank you, Chief.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. I'm Chief Judge Jeff O'Hara from the 63rd District Court, and thank you for having me. I'm not here to ask for anything. I want to share with the board and everyone what we're doing over at court. Addiction is a big problem in our community, in every community in our county, and I see it every day. Every day I see alcohol, drugs, and mental health. Alcohol, drugs, and mental health. And I deal with heroin and fentanyl and methamphetamine. I deal with law enforcement and first responders with the Narcan, bringing people back to life. They're good people who have gotten mixed up in some insidious drugs. And we've started a treatment court at the 63rd District Court, trying to help people and trying to get people's lives back. So I'd like to talk with you about that for just a second. We started this program, and we've been certified since 2022. We started it just before the pandemic. And the cornerstone of the program is sobriety. But that's the cornerstone. We call it recovery court because it's so much more than sobriety. It's so much more than not drinking or not using. It is taking care of your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health, your spiritual health. I require my participants to engage in healthy habits for at least a half an hour every single day, working on getting their life back. And so it's the whole package of changing your life and having a mental mindset of living a lifestyle of recovery. Because if anyone knows about addiction, anyone knows about alcoholism, there is no end date. Sometimes people say, well, when is it over? Or my friends will say, Jeff, progress, not perfection, right? No, perfection. You can't go back because you'll go right back to that cesspool that you were in. And so we have three straightforward principles. I have to get into this program, you have to have at least 2 drunk drivings, or at least drug drivings. Well, if you have 1 drunk driving, anyone can go to wherever and socialize, and I understand that we're a social community, and not pay attention, and unfortunately, hopefully no accident, get stopped for drunk driving, and they get it. It's like, okay, taught my lesson. Well, my